Are you traveling to Japan and want to see something besides the busy streets of Tokyo? Or maybe after flying halfway around the world, you want to be able to see Mt Fuji while soaking in some volcanic activity while eating a black egg? Okay, maybe that last one's a little bit highly specific, but you can see all those things and more while visiting Hakone. Now, if you're still interested after all that, let me show you my experience while traveling to Hakone and staying a couple nights next to Lake Ashi. Now, to get here, I traveled from Kyoto to Mt Hakone, which required several transfers, starting by taking a train from Kyoto towards Tokyo and getting off at Shinagawa Station. There, I traveled backwards to Adawa Station, and from there, I could get on a bus and travel up the mountainside, taking a whole bunch of switchbacks back and forth until we got to Mt Hakone port. And just be forewarned, if you take this bus route, this isn't for the faint of heart, as you might get motion sickness riding up those narrow, winding roads. After checking in the ryokan, I went outside to soak in the lake right as the sun started to set, giving this gorgeous glow as the sun began to fall behind the surrounding mountains. As the sky changed from orange to pink, the lake crossing pirate ship came into port, giving us a preview of the vessel we were going to ride tomorrow. Now that it was dark outside, we went back inside for dinner, as it was included with the room at the ryokan, and the meal was actually served to us in our room, laying out everything all at once on the table, and then we just had to call them when we were done after enjoying all that amazing food. In total, there was about 7 different dishes that was served as the meal. Now, this was truly a filling bunch of food, which was great as we'd hardly eaten all day due to the travel nature of getting here from Kyoto. The next day, we planned to try and see everything we could that was here in Hakone after eating our breakfast, which was also included. The breakfast was also a set meal, just like dinner, and we got just as much food as we did before, but instead of enjoying it in the comfort of our room, it was served in the bigger meal hall in the ryokan at our given time slot. And here's everything that we were served at breakfast. Now, staying here at Mt Hakone, there are 2 things to do right away. First is to visit the Hakone Shrine that sits out over the water and is the postcard symbol of this area. Because this shrine is well known, be forewarned that it can get quite busy, and if you want to take your picture with it, you have to wait in a long line with all the other tourists who have come here to see it. Or if you stay here, you can get up super early and beat the crowds. And that's exactly what we did the day we decided to leave Hakone. The second thing we did once it opened up was get a Hakone free pass inside the Hakone Tanzo bus station, which is also where you can get on and ride the pirate ship across the lake. The free pass is also available online and at several other physical locations, but this was the closest place to where we were staying, and you need this to be able to do a whole bunch of different stuff in the area. And then before getting on the pirate ship, as it wasn't time for its first crossing, I did pick up some sandwich butter cookies as a snack to have on the other side of the lake from Sun Sandi, but I will show those a little bit later and talk about how they were. I will say that it was a good thing that I picked them up in the morning before crossing the lake, as they were closed by the time I returned at the end of the day. Which comes back to one of my mottos of the trip, which is if you see something you want, just get it, or you may never see it ever again, or the place may actually be closed. Then with the snack in hand, it was time to board the pirate ship and cross Lake Ashi. Once on the other side of the lake, this is where you can get on the Hakone ropeway, which is also included as part of the free pass, but before riding it up and over the mountains to get to the top, it was time to try those butter cookies. I picked out 2 different flavors from the shop, with the first being this pistachio and berry, with the pistachio buttercream was in a sandwich between 2 butter cookies with a nice berry jam in the center, and this was definitely my favorite of the 2 flavors. Second flavor was a double chocolate that had the same cookies, but the inside was a chocolate buttercream with some smaller chocolate chips mixed in. Our plan was then to have this snack and then head up to the mountain, but as we walked through the terminal, we found the great flavored soft serve ice cream and couldn't turn down this opportunity to try a unique flavor. It had this rich purple color and tasted just like artificial grape candies, but apparently that's what the grapes actually taste like that are used to make this ice cream. Now it's time to finally get on board the gondola and ride it all the way up to the summit. Once at the top, we could see the active sulfur vents spewing out a lot of gases, and if the wind blew just right, it would smell like rotting eggs. Also from up here, you can see Mt Fuji in the distance, which is one of the selling points, but unfortunately it was November and there wasn't a whole lot of snow at the top of the mountain. One of the popular foods to get here at the summit is these black eggs that are just hard-boiled chicken eggs cooked in the natural hot springs in the area, and that result in the shell turning their signature black color. They came in a bag with 6 eggs, but if I'm being honest, they just taste like normal hard-boiled eggs. So if you aren't a fan of hard-boiled eggs, feel free to skip them and just take your picture with nearly the human-sized egg sculpture that's around this summit area. After checking out the surrounding area, we headed inside to take the cable car back down towards the Gora side of the mountain. But as we were walking through, we found another gachapon, and this one was specifically Ninja Cat themed. And once we put our money in and turned the dial, the one that came out was a cat hiding underwater using reed for breathing. Now it's time for us to descend down to the Gora side of the valley on the same gondola. At the bottom of the hill is Gora Station, which if you're day tripping from Tokyo is the easier destination to head towards. Basically do everything that I've shown you so far, but do it in reverse. Now I talked about this in a video where I went over all the craft beer I enjoyed in Japan, but this is exactly where I found this IPA from Gora Brewery and Grill, and I tried that later with dinner. So if you want to see that full video, it's linked down below. Then it was time to start the journey back to where we started the day, but once reaching the summit, we grabbed a second ice cream that was black from the charcoal added into it. Although it did change the color of the ice cream and my teeth along with it, it did not affect the overall flavor and tasted more like a vanilla soft serve. Up at the top, there's plenty of things to do and see, including eating at any of the restaurants up here. But they were both extremely busy at the times we went to try to go get some food, and they had very little to no vegetarian option, which is why we ended up just snacking all day, but we also knew that we would get another huge meal with dinner. So it's time to cue up the montage of descending back down the mountain and across the lake, back for dinner. Once back at the ryokan, we enjoyed another meal of all sorts of tasty foods before using the public onsen that was located on the 5th floor. But you're not allowed to film in there, so I can't show you what it looks like inside, but just imagine a large open bath constantly being refilled but with piping hot water from the underground, and this one specifically had one that was both outside and inside that overlooked the lake. Now, sadly, the next day was our final day in Japan, which meant having to travel all the way back to the airport to fly home. But as I mentioned earlier, we went to Hakone Shrine super early in the morning around 6 a.m. before all the crowd started to arrive to get some photos, and then we headed back to the ryokan after taking those photos and enjoying the scenery for some breakfast. So let me know if this swayed you either way in visiting Hakone, and if you want to see other videos from my Japan trip, click on one of the videos on the screen right now, and I hope to see you again soon.